All right, guys, today we are going to be talking about counter surfing with our dogs. I'm going to be using my stove specifically for today, partly because my kitchen is a mess, and another part is because the stove can get really hot. So it's really important that our dogs do not put their feet on the stove. We're also going to kind of talk about stealing food from the counters and, just jumping on them to inspect and all that stuff. I have Gus here with me today, and he is very well known for jumping on the counter to steal paper and other stuff like that he thinks are extremely important and need to be brought to me, even though they were on the counter for good reason. Um, he has never actually stolen food from the counters. I vaguely remember him stealing a what are they called? A fruit snack package and then bringing it back to me in the bathroom, but he never ate it or anything like that. The only reinforcement he has ever had from the counters is just the bringing the ability to bring me whatever's on the counter. If your dog does have past reinforcement from taking food off of the counters, then this is where you want to make sure your counters are clean of food at all times and preventing that rehearsal as much as possible. So if you are serving a bunch of guests and there's food on your counters, maybe put your dog away, have them on a boundary, or set up a little gate system or something, some type of way to keep them out of the kitchen. We want to try and prevent rehearsal as much as possible, because preventing that rehearsal is just as, if not more powerful than doing the actual training work. Preventing that rehearsal is going to provide as much training as doing these actual exercises. Now, the first thing that I really like to talk about is a game called the Automatic Leave It. I've made videos on it in the past about, your dog leaving food on the floor, leaving it in your hand. Yes, good boy. Now, we're going to be doing the exact same thing with the counter and with the edge of the counter. I'm just going to be using Gus's kibble for now, but you can also use like higher value rewards such as cheese or um, some sliced meats or anything like that, deli meat, anything like that that your dog might find more enticing and more rewarding. All right, so I'm going to take a couple pieces of kibble. I'm going to place it on the edge of my stove. Yes. If he were to go for it, then I would simply cover it up and he would not be allowed to have access to it. The only way he can have access to what is on the stove is, number one, by me taking the piece from the stove and delivering it to him. Or I'm going to move this over here. You know what? I'm going to hold it. So I will put a piece on the stove. He's going to inspect it. I'll cover. He sits, and then I will reward from another place, so he never gets what is on the stove. I can continue to add more and more pieces of kibble to try and entice him to jump up. However, he is not jumping up, so I'm going to yes and reward from some other place other than the stove or the counter. Yes. I continue to add more. Yes. That time we're rewarded from the stove. It just depends. It's very varied on what is going to kind of happen. Mufasa decided to join us. So now that he's playing the game, they'll both end up being rewarded for waiting instead of jumping up on the counter. And again, there's a lot of kibble up here. So if need be, smash it all into a little pile so that you can quickly cover it in case someone decides to jump on the counters. Mufasa is actually my chronic counter surfer. So he would be the best example for me to try and attempt somewhat to get him to fail, which it should never be the goal. But for video purposes, it's kind of nice to, for viewers to see, viewers like you, to see when a dog does fail from a trainer's perspective so that we can then troubleshoot and figure out what to do next. But I've practiced the automatic leave it game a lot with my dogs. Therefore, when I do something like this, it's very easy for them to transition from, say, the floor or my hand to the counter. Good. And then maybe we can even try different places on my counter. So we can even do just, whoops. I'm going to reward Mufasa. I'm not going to reward Gus because he did end up jumping on me. And that's something I also don't want, especially in the kitchen. Say I'm cooking, I have hot utensils, maybe I even have a hot plate. That's not something that we want. So I did not reward Gus. And then let's put out a couple more pieces of kibble towards the edge of my counter. Again, we got that jumping, so I'm not going to reward that. I will actually reward Mufasa. Put a couple more out. Yes, and this is where Gus did not jump, so I will reward him. It's very, very, very similar to the automatic leave it game that I have been playing with my dogs in so many different contexts. I love this game for that reason because you can transfer it to so many different things. If your dog is struggling with this, you can even incorporate a boundary and having your dog on that boundary and then just rewarding the boundary every time they don't do anything. Basically, we're looking at what they aren't doing versus what they are doing. Or you could even look at what are they doing? They are staying on their boundary. This is a really great way to kind of flip things on its head. A lot of people will say, okay, what don't I want? I don't want my dog to jump on the counter. When instead we can flip it on the head and say, what do I want? I do want my dog to keep 4 paws on the ground. I do want my dog to stay on their boundary. Therefore, anytime my dog has 4 paws on the ground, I can reward. Or anytime that they are staying on their boundary, I can reward. When we flip it on the head of what do I want instead of what don't I want, then we can look for things to reward instead of looking for things to correct. So, like I said, I do want my dog to stay on the boundary. So I'm going to reward my dog for being on the boundary. Or I do want my dogs to keep 4 paws on the floor. So I will reward my dog for keeping 4 paws on the floor. If you have any questions, this was a really quick video. I will put the link in the description to all of my other automatic leave it videos. But if you are struggling or if you have any questions, post a video or post a question in the comments. Send me a message on Facebook, Instagram, you name it. You can schedule a free call with me as well to go over some troubleshooting. I'm more than here for you. This is also something that we practice a ton in my course, Pawsitive Focus. Now, Pawsitive Focus is all about teaching our dogs to focus on me versus the environment. It goes over household manners, loose leash walking, distractions, all of these things that a lot of dogs struggle with. And I put it all down into one short course that will really help boost your relationship and that focus with your dog. I really, really love this course. I put my heart and soul into it. So I will also have that sign up link down below. Like I said, if you have any questions, I'm more than here for you. I want to help you out and keep on training.